The empire long united must divide. Long divided must unite. So begins, more or less, the romance of the Three Kingdoms, one of the greats of Chinese literature. It tells the story of the collapse of the Han dynasty and the rise of the three kingdoms that replaced it, which is what we're going to do in this episode, although in a much less poetic and, well, romantic way. As you remember from the last episode, Emperor Han Wudi's reign is often seen as the apex of the Han dynasty's power and influence. When he died in 87 BCE, the dynasty faced a power vacuum. As the struggle for power intensified, particularly with the growing influence of eunuchs, who established a formidable presence in the imperial palace, a series of emperors came and went, unable to assert their authority over either the eunuchs or the powerful families vying for control of state affairs. The murder of General He Jin in 189 CE, who opposed eunuch influence, sparked a civil war known as the coup against the eunuchs. This conflict culminated in the slaughter of eunuchs and a fragmented court, further destabilizing and weakening the Han dynasty. Remember, the Han had done what they could to centralize authority, so when that started to weaken, it gave warlords, as regional leaders, the opportunity to assert control over their territories amidst the chaos, independent of the imperial court. This fragmentation of power culminated in civil unrest as the central government lost the ability to enforce law and order effectively. Economic instability and social unrest significantly contributed to the decline of the Han dynasty. Rising taxes and conscription led to widespread discontent among the peasantry, as many commoners were burdened by state financial demands. The Yellow Turban Rebellion, which started in 182 CE and lasted for 23 years until 205 CE, was a major peasant uprising led by the Taoist figure Zhang Jie. The rebellion was fueled by widespread discontent over heavy taxation, corruption, and natural disasters that had devastated crops and livelihoods. The rebels, wearing yellow headbands, called for social reforms and the establishment of a great peace, Taiping. The Han government eventually suppressed the rebellion, but it weakened the dynasty significantly, further exposing their inability to address the grievances of its populace, which gave the local warlords yet another opportunity to bolster their militaries and assert control over their regions. The stark social stratification of Han society, with the emperor and nobility enjoying vast wealth while the peasantry languished in poverty, exacerbated tensions. Taxation policies heavily burdened the lower classes, and natural disasters during the late Han period deepened the social and economic divide. But it wasn't just internal strife causing problems. An old external enemy was back. The northern nomadic tribes, particularly the Xiongnu, were demanding tribute and conducting raids into Han territory. Trying to curb these raids cost money, further straining the economy and diverting money and attention from internal governance. As regional warlords consolidated power, they began to exercise their militaries, often rebelling against the central authority. The loss of territory and influence weakened the imperial military, leading to increased lawlessness and more rebellions. The inability of the Han to effectively protect its borders culminated in a growing discontent among its subjects and added to the erosion of the legitimacy of the central government. This all culminated in the official split into the three kingdoms. In the north, the Wei, led by Cao Cao. In the south, the Shu, led by Sun Quan, and in the southwest, the Wu, led by Liu Bei, each of them formidable warlords. So the death of Han Wudi ignited a series of events that unravelled the centralised power of the Han and seeded the emergence of regional warlords, each vying for control. The fall of the Han dynasty was not a sudden event, but a gradual decline marked by systemic failures, lingering discontent among the populace, and the inability to adapt to external pressures. The empire long united, was divided once again. Despite the name of this episode, the Three Kingdoms period isn't just an historical interlude, it's a transformative phase that shaped the future of China. The transition to the Three Kingdoms period formally began in 220 CE, when the last Han emperor, Liu Shan, surrendered to the warlord Cao Cao, who had previously established control over the northern territories. The Wei, the Shu, and the Wu kingdoms weren't just military alliances. They each had a unique identity and were all striving for supremacy while simultaneously trying to maintain their unique identities and governance styles. The Wei became the most prominent of the Three Kingdoms. Cao Cao, known for his military acumen and political ruthlessness, skillfully united a considerable portion of northern China. His reign was characterized by a blend of military campaigns and administrative reforms, which ensured a relatively stable and prosperous domain in the north. He consolidated power by implementing land reforms and enhancing agricultural output, enabling the Wei to support its military ambitions effectively. Their military strategies reflected the innovations of the time, particularly the emphasis on mobility and the integration of cavalry units. This strategic thinking played a pivotal role in many battles, allowing Wei to repel incursions from rival kingdoms while also conducting offensives. But it was more than just military success that made the Wei significant. Cao Cao laid the groundwork for later governments by emphasizing meritocracy over aristocracy, and this shift in governance was crucial for stabilizing the realm and maintaining the loyalty of the populace. In contrast to Cao Cao's military focus, the Shu sought to present itself as the rightful successor to the Han dynasty, with Liu Bei claiming that he was a descendant of the royal Liu family. Even if true, this was a shrewd strategic move, playing into the population's desire for a ruler who upheld the values and cultural identity of the Han. Militarily, the Shu were often at a disadvantage compared to the Wei due to its geographical location and limited resources. Nonetheless, it managed notable victories, the most significant being the Battle of Chibi, Red Cliffs, in 208 CE, where the combined forces of Liu Bei and Sun Quan of Wu halted Wei's advance southwards. This battle, pivotal in history, illustrated the importance of alliances in this fragmented landscape and served as a testament to strategic ingenuity, emphasizing the role of geography and logistics in warfare. It's also the inspiration for two fantastic films by Zhang Yiming, which I highly recommend. The third of the Three Kingdoms, the Wu, flourished in commerce and maritime trade, benefiting from its geographical advantages along the Yangtze River and access to the sea. Sun Quan adopted a pragmatic approach to governance, focusing on stabilizing his territory through diplomatic relations and strong economic policies. The Wu's military strategies were notably different from those of its contemporaries. Instead of pursuing aggressive expansion, Sun Quan emphasized the defense of his territory and exploited the strengths of his navy. The cooperation between the Wu and the Shu, especially against the common enemy of the Wei, showed they understood the need for alliances. The Wu became known for its scholars and poets. Their contribution to literature and philosophy were significant, ensuring that the Three Kingdoms period was also an era of cultural richness. But although, as I said before, the Three Kingdoms period was not characterized solely by military conflict, there was, as you'd expect, a lot of fighting, which couldn't go on forever. By the late 3rd century, internal strife and the pressures of warfare weakened each kingdom. The Shu fell to the Wei in 263 CE, but 2 years later, in 265 CE, the last Wei emperor, Cao Huan, was overthrown from within by a Wei general and politician, Sima Yan, who established the Jin dynasty. In 280 CE, the remaining Wu fell to the Jin, and the empire, long divided, was united once again. But not for long, sadly. The Jin dynasty wouldn't last and would be followed by a succession of short-lived regimes, but it did lay a foundation once more for a centralized state. It was a foundation on which the subsequent Tang dynasty and our next emperor, Tang Taizong, would eventually build. The transition from the end of Han Wudi's reign to the beginning of Tang Taizong's reign encompassed a period of significant upheaval and transformation. The decline of centralized authority, the fragmentation of power, and the rise of new cultural and economic dynamics created a complex landscape that ultimately paved the way for the Tang dynasty's achievements. The Tang would inherit and build upon these changes, leading to one of the most prosperous and culturally rich periods in Chinese history. Join me next time as we look at that period and its greatest emperor, Tang Taizong.